going on, everyone? Welcome back to Men's Mastermind Group. Today we have a guest. CrackAMike is a comedian slash music producer slash businessman. Really, he's an all-around entrepreneur, proud AMC stockholder. So I heard about CrackAMike years ago through a mutual friend. They showed me a video he did on YouTube years ago called Divorce Party. It's a comedy parody of Old Town Road. I'll link it in the description down below. Check it out. It's quite the hoot. And I'll also link his SoundCloud down below. As I said, he's a comedian, does the parody, music production, comedy. I really like his style. He's got a unique perspective on life. He juggles a lot, and he's an all-around hustler that does a lot in his life, works from home, juggles family and work. And so without further ado, let's get into this conversation. And here we have CrackAMike.
Anyways, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I'll let you ask the questions. I just want to get that one in there. Good to talk to you.
No, it's all good. I mean, I figured we kind of introduce each other, or talk to each other for a minute. We've never actually formally met or nothing.
Comedian, business owner, small business owner, full-time employee, still got a day job, which is part of my philosophy of balance, and a lot of things.
Awesome. You own a business. What kind of business do you own?
We have an e-commerce business. Okay. We're resellers, basically. Nice. Go find the good stuff, buy the classic formula, buy low, sell high.
Yeah. Is that something you kind of formed, or did you I don't know.
Well, the way that came about is I had a little bit of money, and I was wanting to invest it in something, an asset, any kind of asset, and now that's really more of a habit than it was then. But at this time, it was something that I was experimenting with. And, so I was just perusing Craigslist back when we used Craigslist. And I found an ad that was wholesalers wanted, video games, so on and so forth. And I've always really loved video games, and it was like a bunch of retro games. And I was like, oh, that's up my alley, because I'm now in my 40s. And so I'm definitely a retro gamer. And so I called my wife, or I think actually, you know what? No, she was in the living room. I remember talking to her in the living room about this. And I was like, so am I bringing like a couple $100 as a collector and just kind of like getting what I can? Or do you think we should start like a business with this and invest everything that we have? And she was like, yeah, let's start a business. So we did. It took like a full year to actually get going for real. But now it's doing pretty well. I mean, it's okay. It's a third income, basically, is the way we look at it. It's another revenue stream. We could not live strictly off of it, but it does make profit. And but we have multiple sources of income. I think that's another thing that's interesting about anybody. Personally, not to say that it's interesting about me. It's just something that's interesting about people that I like and that I started emulating. Bought and Sold is our e-commerce business. Although we don't have a website, we're on everywhere. We're on eBay, we're on Mercari, Facebook Marketplace. But there's that, and then I also invest as well. I am an proud AMC stonk owner. I'm an ape. I will say that, among other investments, I have most of my investments, 90%, I would say, of my investments are relatively boring. 401k, I invest in 12 dividend stocks on a regular basis on a formula, and so that whenever we're in our late 50s, early 60s, we'll also have a full-fledged dividend income as long as I stay on that path. And of course, like I said, we have full-time jobs, and my wife also is right around the corner. So it's not completely 100% official, but we're like at the 99%, I'm not joking, from being a professional writer as well.
Awesome.
So we've got multiple incomes coming in. And also another huge thing, sorry to ramble, but
no, you're good.
Just to mention it, Megan, my wife, is a gigantic part of this. I mean, it's not something that everybody does. That a lot of people are rolling solo, which is mind blowing to me. Just to
Yeah.
be honest with you, I respect it. Your journey, other people's journeys. A lot of people are fighting the good fight by themselves, and also trying to be successful in life and be good people, be good parents, be good aunts, uncles, and doing it by themselves. But I have Megan, and she has a very similar mentality as I have, as far as like earning, and putting forth effort and trying to have the best life that we possibly can, by, having really good habits, putting first things first and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, I'm solo. I'm a single father. One of my boys, my oldest son, he lives with me, and he kind of went through a crazy situation in the last couple of years where I had to, hire an attorney and go through the court proceeding and get custody of him and everything, and then move him to another state, and I got him in a new school, and so that's just been crazy. In the midst of, we moved into our first home. I bought my first house. And so then I'm in my first house, I got my son, and we're moving into a new school. And I'm like, oh, we got 3 rooms. I'm going to turn one into a YouTube studio. And in the midst of buying all, new furniture and just everything, then COVID happened. And, but I've got
That's a lot. That's like everything you just said. You just put like 7 years of life into like, whatever the plan was.
Right. So like, I mean, I'm trying to do everything on my own, but just to find that balance and, to keep your sanity, and it's been hard. Luckily I do have one good friend that she believes in me, like full on, sees it's hard when you like have a vision in your head for the world to see it. Most people, I think, kind of like, oh, that'd be awesome. Good job, good luck or whatever. But they don't see the potential of it actually coming reality. And I got one good friend, she comes over and helps me with my kids and just all sorts of stuff. So I've got somebody, but to have that partner that is like on board with you with that same similar mentality of, finances and getting ahead and all that stuff, that I think that is inexpensive. That's awesome that you got that.
Yeah. Priceless asset. I don't know what else to call it, like life asset. I mean, not to mention all of the other things about, I don't want to just like make it seem like my wife is my financial robot partner. All of the other things that are wonderful about our life as well. She's also a really wonderful person and everything else. But speaking to the whole earnings thing, for me, I know in my experience that's been crazy important, if for nothing else, because there's a sense of confidence that like there are 2 of us will get it. Like the 4 hands and the 4 legs and the 20 fingers, like are better, and the 2 brains are better than all that has, So there is that. But it's a whole different ballgame when you're trying to do it on your own, because this is actually something that I started with us. Yeah. At one point, I was like, hey, for me, it started with being just, I don't know, trying to just swing for the fences a couple times. And, I've invested my entire life savings 3 different times. You could say I've lost it, but it's always come back. So, it's one of those things where we're in a much better situation now. But, we're swinging for the fences at different points in our life. We have pretty low lows that made us just kind of like communicate more and say, okay, look, we need to do better. We know something, we know better on some things, and other things, we still have a lot to learn. And I don't know about for you, but at some point in every adult's life, they go to like a almost 100% grocery life where it's like eating out once a week or once a month or something kind of becomes normal. And when we made that transition, that was something that was huge, as far as, which has been forever ago now. Wife and I have been together almost 15 years. So we're talking about like 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago or so, we decided to just switch over to completely, budgeting, and looking at all the money we were spending, saving. We got healthier, obviously, because of it. We started saving a bunch of money because of it. And that's all that I really can talk about is the stuff that we did, that I have done. I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have dreams and goals and stuff, and like I can talk about my dreams and goals, my vision board, and all the things that I want to do in my life. But when I talk about the things that I've done and the experiences I've gone through and everything, that's where the true value, is. Because even though it might seem insignificant to us because we've been there, we've done it, it's just that standard thing that we do. Some other people that are, running the same race that we're going through, but in a different stage of development to where they're not quite there yet. They haven't done the scheduling and budgeting and time management. That's where it's like it's affecting them, and we're able to give back through our own experiences. And that's where I've got a lot of just gratification. I'm able to, really genuinely affect people around me is just by sharing my own experiences and my epiphany moments. Like, oh, wow, why didn't I think about that, 10 years ago? And, so that's where like I tried to do this men's mastermind group for the longest time, because I read books by like Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie and all the success mentors of the past, and a lot of them talk about forming congregation of like-minded men to challenge your ideas and concepts and push you forward in a path where it's more positive reinforcement, or even if it's objectively, then the world just kind of, like I said, they might like, oh yeah, good luck, but that's like sarcastic or whatever. But then in reality, they're like, maybe they don't really push you forward. A lot of people just don't see that concept. But I think finding men like you and me, to come together, not to lift ourselves up, but just to challenge each other, to share our own experiences. I think that's where it's like there's a spiritual force, or an energetic force that's created, and that's what they call the mastermind group. And it's almost like it's its own entity that's formed, because once that group is solidified and moves forward, it's like you can achieve more in a couple decades than you could independently in your lifetime, if not a couple lifetimes, by the dynamics of the group.
I'm in my office, I guess you could say. That's what we call it. We call it the office. That's also a guest room. There's happens to be a bed right behind me as well. And it happens. This is actually where I write all my comedy. So that's a comfortable place for me to be at. I also have a workshop where I repair all the video game systems down in the garage, and then my wife has a reading nook where she reads and writes. So we have 3 little areas in the house that we kind of go to be somewhat to be creative. Yeah. And they all make us happy. I can say that. They don't all earn, but they all make us happy.
Let's get on this real quick. Designating areas within your home or your environment that are dedicated for production or a craft or some kind of, I think that is essential. Because like, I feel like our house is connected to us emotionally. It's connected to our identity of who we are. And a lot of times we associate like our home life with like, okay, I can shut the doors, I can shut the world out, and this is my safety zone. This is my relaxation zone. This is my comfort zone. And then like, if somebody says, oh, I want to work from home. Well, how do I separate that identity from, now production and deadlines, and, that's a whole different beast. So what do you think about that? Because you've got designated areas.
I do have designated areas. They're not necessarily the craftiest areas, but they do have things that kind of make me feel comfortable with the things that I do in those areas. Mm-hmm. And I think that to answer this question, I have to start from the beginning. For me, would be sort of like chapter 1 would be, when you're going to do any work from home, side hustle, whatever you want to classify it as. All right. We don't really have side hustles around here. We put labor in, we got work. As a matter of fact, all of the rest of my ideas are not jobs. I got enough jobs. So everything else is going to be real true PI, or passive income, or at least as close as you can get to like a one-time investment passive income type thing. But like I said, we got enough jobs around here. But if you put yourself, we couldn't do it until we put ourselves on a schedule for real. Like, we were like, what would my boss say about this schedule that I keep? Where I just stroll into the workshop whenever I want to with my cup of coffee, sloshing around, or whatever. It's not really like that, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And so once we did that and got serious about it, that was step one. Okay, then step two was realizing that when I had my schedule, like, just kind of like working in some general area of my home wasn't going to work for me. I knew it wasn't, because I'm not going to, first of all, need to have whatever tools or items that you require, or let's say your cooking ingredients, whatever it is, you need to have it all in the same area. And that makes it very, although our business is actually split into different parts of our house, it's kind of like the same stuff is in the same area that needs to be with like items in order to perform the tasks that are done there, right? So I've got my workshop in the garage. It's a full-on, it's actually not climate controlled, but it does have electricity and all that good stuff. And so that's where I work on all the video games, all the machines that I repair for bought and sold, and reconditioning and all that boring stuff. And then and that's all set up like a tool shop is, like a workshop is. It's got the pegboard with everything, the stuff hanging from it, tools hanging from it, the boxes and drawers and all that stuff. It's like any shop would look. And then up here in the office, I have my PC in front of me, which I'm on my phone. But anyways, and here's where I write everything where all the writing happens, if you will. Also, it happens to be where Megan does her side of bought and sold, or at least a large portion of it, on the computer with inventory and posting and all that stuff. So it works as an office for both of us. We both work in here quite a bit. She works a little more than I do right now because, like I said, I'm only in here kind of fulfilling my favorite hobby, because comedy doesn't bring any money, especially with what I chose to do. Musical parodies. So, just kind of is the thing that I enjoy writing. But getting back to the topic at hand, and then we have the studio, which is very loosely named, where we've got like a quick light box set up for photos for all the stuff that we sell. And that also has a lot of our fully processed inventoried inventory items. So once it's like fully completely done and processed and has an inventory number and goes through all that, it winds up in there. So we do have designated areas, and it keeps you from being distracted. There are TVs in none of those areas except the workshop, but there's nothing really hooked to that TV. It's for having systems to test systems on. It's for work. I do have a Roku in there, but for the most part, I keep it unplugged. And it's, it's for work. And when I step in there, I have an itinerary for the day. I have an overall thought of where I'm going with the project I'm on, and an idea of what I want to do as far as beginning the next project. I think earn first, and then, if there's something else to do second. And if you ever saw my personal video game collection, you would know I'm telling the truth, because I don't even have cases for half of my stuff. But meanwhile, I, bust my butt getting covers, getting cases for the stuff that we sell, and trying to have the best quality product that we can put out there, because we are buying, 20-plus-year-old stuff at this point. So it's important to make sure that you try to get it as close to, collectively as possible. And I think I'm starting to ramble at this point, but I just basically to hammer the point home. Yes, I 100%, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, whatever you want to call it, think that you absolutely have to. You know what? Forget the you. I absolutely have to have designated areas in my house. I think that part of the reason why I don't follow my workout schedule the way that I want to is because it's actually in my garage. And when I step into the garage, it's the workshop, so it's kind of intertwined. And, also there's that whole, you got to actually like pick the weights up thing. Can't just keep walking past them. So there's that. But But yeah, no, designated area is very important. I feel like if I had like a shed with all my workout equipment in it, I would go work out every day.
That's
But
what I have.
no, I've trust me, I thought about it. The problem is our backyard is the woods. So
Yeah.
if I want to put something out there, I've got to like hire a guy to cut a tree down. It could be a I don't even know job, So there's that. But I will say that I'm speaking from a point of convenience, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. That I don't want to take what I have for granted. We did rent the house that we live in currently for a very long time. And then we did last year. As a matter of fact, it's almost been exactly a year to the day, July 28th, 2020, we bought our first home in our 40s, by the way. So I know that you're going to have a lot of viewers that are going to think that, if I'm 40 when I buy my first house, then just hang me. But sometimes that's the way it goes. You just have to stay on your path, and it will eventually happen. If anything, I think that buying a house in my 40s for the first time and being kind of surprised that happened, and that it took that long, I guess. If anything, that's a lesson to myself to listen to the thing, the wisdom that I preach,
Yeah.
and that stick to the path. It will happen. We wound up going through so many ups and downs, and it was crazy. And then eventually we got that money. We got enough money, and we bought the house that we were actually renting, and we lived in. We got a really good deal on it too. There's that also. But now that, like I said, I'm speaking from a point of convenience. Now that I own the house, I can do things like have a full-on workshop, and really, I can put nails in the wall now. So there is a difference of that. So if you're renting, if you're doing your thing, I know how expensive storage space is because we are on the brink of needing it. So I've researched it about once every 3 months for the past year, I'd say. The prices do keep going up. I think it's like a $24 difference actually between the last time and the first time that I asked at the place closest to me. Because I'm telling you right now, I am a one pallet away from either getting a divorce or a storage unit. And that's because we're resellers, so we keep the house pretty stocked with stuff. We're not to the hoarder level, but the shelves are full, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so and I know how expensive it can be. It's not feasible to drop that kind of money every month to go have an office or something like that. I get it, but having designated areas is important for me, and it's almost like. So I did I like to do comedy and stuff like that. I did drama in high school. So I think of going into character is what I think of. And also this is what I did when I waited tables for all those years as well. Even as a manager, in fact, when I was a restaurant manager, I was an executive chef and in management teams throughout a decade of management. You have to go into character. You have to be able to do that, and I kind of do that with everything that I'm doing, I go into character with it. When I'm going to write comedy, I'm going to write a parody, I'm trying to be CrackAMike, just be silly and relatable and vulgar, I guess. That's the perfect combination for CrackAMike. And then whenever I'm writing stand-up, it's me. It's 100% me. It's my story, and again, relatable, at least, that's what I think. And there's that, but it's also I don't know how to say it. It's like anybody that's ever written jokes and you intend on going and telling them on stage, you start to think about it, sort of like giving somebody your phone with the photo gallery open. You're like, they're about to see some things, it doesn't necessarily mean they're bad things, just means that they're going to see all the things, so it's like you may have something that's completely innocuous, but you say it on stage and then everybody in that room knows. So, it's you kind of, when you write jokes and you write them about yourself, you think twice about that, about actually which ones you perform. But that's something that's pretty neat. And then when I'm at work, at Bought and Sold, I'm the CEO. And that's the mentality that I have, is that, we have got to drive sales. That's what we're doing here. And when I'm an employee at my job, where I assemble electronic machines, basically, for a living. That's what I am. I'm the best employee I can be. You know, I try to make sure that I'm following all the rules and being the guy that I want to work for me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then, and all that, but all that's core stuff, man. That all comes from like, you don't just turn that on. You have to like live that like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm also the best husband I can be. I think my wife would say that wholeheartedly, you know, that I'm super thoughtful. Like, I built her a reading nook for her birthday. And, you know, with all this different stuff in it that she's wanted forever and ever. And, you know, now, like I said, now that we own the home, we could do more things to it, you know. And, you know, I try to really, it's not just that I want to sit here and go like down item for the things I've done for my wife. But the point is that I stay thoughtful. You know, one example that, so I've actually said this to people before in general when they've asked about, because people that know me and my wife, they will, not to brag, but they'll compliment our relationship. You know, like, wow, you guys really been together 14, 15 years, you know, got good chemistry, you know, and I'm grateful for that. But what I'll say is, you, I lost myself in a thought. Sorry about that. I got lost in a thought there.
It's all good.
It was, I don't remember what I was going to say about Megan, but she brings it everywhere. And when, oh, I remember what I was going to say. Ha, it came back. There we go. All right. And we're back.
Yes.
No, but, I will actually keep a thing in my phone. She already knows about this, so she can watch this video and I'll be fine. But I keep a note in my phone, and when she mentions that she wants a thing, I'll put it in the notes and I'll like buy her Christmas presents in July, for example.
Yeah.
You know, and just stash it and just try to really like. But that's everything, man. That's like, I really genuinely believe that if you try to be the best person for the world, right, the world gives it back to you. Like, actually, 10%.
100%.
And I've gotten so much help along the way. Like, I have literally lived on a guy's couch for 6 weeks. That's not a joke. You know, I've been just in so many between phases.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, there came a point in my life where I was like, am I ever going to actually get it together? Like, I keep on like, you know, it's like the diet you keep going on.
Yeah.
We also keep getting off of it, and I realized that what it was is I was too worried about like things I couldn't control, really, quite frankly. And once I started to focus on being concerned about things that I could control, that was a life-changing. But it was so long ago. It seemed like, oh, everybody knows that,
right?
But there may be people watching that don't know that. You know, I've worked with some pretty young people when I was in the restaurant business. In fact, I always worked with young people, and that's a 24-year, you know, career that I had, or 23 years or something like that. And I kept working with young people, and it was like stuff that I took for granted that I knew, which I guess we would refer to that as wisdom. You keep on retelling it to the same age people, and can't help but hope that it's affecting somebody, you know, somebody's life. You know, I know there are a couple of people for sure that have come back, and I'm not gonna say maybe they look at me like a big brother, you know, and have come back and asked me for kind of like, I don't know if it would be advice, but more like, hey, have you ever been in a situation? What did you do? More like that, more like wisdom. I'm not gonna say I came and asked for advice, but asked for wisdom. And I'm grateful to be able to actually, through some of the BS that I've been through. I'm trying to keep it clean, by the way, for your algorithm. And by the way, for those of you who are watching, and you go, and if you could listen to any of my music or any of my happen to catch any of my shows, I work blue. I do not keep it clean. I am literally doing this so my man Steve can get as many views as possible. So there you go. That's why I'm keeping it clean. But BS, all the bad stuff, all the lows they wind up being like teachable moments for other people. So there's that, you know, pass that wisdom on. And to bounce back off of that idea while I'm kind of on this topic, this is actually sort of a bullet point when I was thinking about what I was going to talk to you about. One point that I kind of wanted to get to was don't be old. Like, get old, but don't be old. And what I mean by that is, and I try not to speak in negatives, but I have to in this one. What I mean by that is, like, always listen to young people. I'm 42. I'm 42. One of the people I look up to the most in this world is actually, I want to say he's 24 or 25. I don't know how old he is. He's in his mid 20s. He's actually he features on a couple of my songs, a couple of my parodies, and he mixed and produced both of the albums, the parody albums that I did. His name is Gail. Check him out. He's also a great artist. Like, he's an R&B rapper. Like, he's a beast artist as well. And I was very, very lucky to run into him. Met him at the same place I met Angelo Reyes.
Yeah.
At, right. So we all worked together, but not at the same time. But we wound up working at the same place, but at different times. But I worked with both of them, and both of those guys are. I'm like almost old enough to be their dad.
Right.
Definitely old enough to be their cool uncle. But they're, listen to, like, don't be too cool to listen to younger people. Like, you have to keep an open mind. Whenever you preach keeping an open mind to younger people, remember that you should do that too.
Yeah. Well, the world is so progressive and the times are changing so fast. And, we go through a whole life experience, and they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's like you become confident in the person that you are and the experiences you've had. So when a person younger with, less experience, or however you view it, tries to tell you or something or whatever, a lot of times, the mentality of it is like, listen, I've been there, done that. I'm just going to tune this out because let me tell you something. So I definitely feel like that, that is sound advice, that you need to have an open mind, listen to younger people, just stay in the loop of the buzz and what's going on in the culture and the world and everything. I think that's really good advice. Also wanted to circle back to, so we started talking about your individual areas and how you use them for production or, a craft or a skill. And you were talking about how you become that person, how, and I was reflecting upon my own thoughts and stuff. And I was like, okay, when I want to do something like produce, video or whatever, I got to think about, okay, the energy in which I'm channeling. I want to channel that energy. I want to focus it in the direction that I need to focus it in order to get the results. And then I need to amplify it with my emotional connection and perception of it, and I like how you were talking about how, when you become, or when you go into that environment, you literally try to become the best of that hat that you're wearing. When you're on a job, you're the best employee that you can be as far as yourself and your reflection, as far as like, who would I want to work for me? When I'm the CEO, I'm thinking of, how do we increase sales? How do we increase productivity and efficiency? You literally embody that identity of the person that we view as, the person who channeled the energy the best. When you look at a successful person, just look at the energy in which they channeled and focused and use desire and emotions in order to amplify that into, a manifestation of reality, where not only you jumped on board with it, but the world, like Apple, that caught fire as far as that, just that energy that was channeled, directed, and amplified to the world. So I think, that's where I think it's an identity thing, whereas like somebody asked me today, they said, what pushes you forward to stay fit? And, I have lots of answers, and I'm like, well, if you think long term or, as far back as you can remember, like, okay, when it comes to physical fitness, what made me want to become fit? Well, probably the fact that I grew up without a father, and I myself was insecure as a strong, masculine young man or whatever you think, because I didn't have a father. I didn't know how to be a man or act like a man. I was raised with women, and I see, on TV, and I'm like, okay, who embodies that identity the best? Weightlifters, martial artists, ninjas, the Ninja Turtle, people that have brought balance and strength. And, so then I started to emulate that. And I think we do that with a lot of things, and they might be rooted in insecurity, but then they become a part of the strength identity of how you've built that character over time, because you do become confident within that, identity of that person. After you've put 20 years of effort into a craft, a skill, anything, you're like, I know that, even though it might have started with maybe insecurity or, negative emotions. And that's why I say conflict. In the beginning, I say conflict pushes everything forward, because what's the conflict of me growing up? Well, insecurity, because my father wasn't there. Even though it was an internal conflict, I still used that in order to push myself forward into a way of life that actually worked for me instead of against me.
Okay, well, that's pretty inspirational. I, on the other hand, grew up with not only a great father, but also a great stepfather. So I had two awesome dads. They both were coaches for me. And I grew up with like the best role models, and others as well. But as far as like specifically, dads are concerned.
That's awesome.
And if as good or as much of a dad as you have, depends on how physically fit you are, then that's probably accurate, because these jelly rolls and these Dunkin' Donuts are adding up over here. Meanwhile, I see you like walking on, one knuckle, doing headstands everywhere, all kinds of places. Which, by the way, I have to compliment your channel, man. I have been watching your videos and keeping up. I can't say with every one of them or anything, but you're getting some good guests. I mean, I'm humbled to be on the channel as just some regular Joe who has. I wouldn't even call myself successful, and I'm not just saying that to be humble. Like we haven't reached our definition of success yet. That's all there is to that. So and it's not like some kind of, I think you're a little more intense about it than I am, which I actually respect. I'm not coming at it at a like that's a bad angle. I'm just saying it's a different intensity that you and I have. And I think that one thing I'm not necessarily, so I'm not like against, kind of like I'm open-minded about, making sure that I allow younger people to influence me. I think that's actually important. I'm open-minded about a lot of things, like really pretty much most things. But I kind of feel like it's also, you have to be open-minded about recognizing your personal balance. Like for me, I'm going to keep a job until it's impossible for me to keep that job because it's guaranteed money. With that job, I personally have some things going on like insurance and, retirement and stuff like that are hand in hand. So those are really good things to keep in mind as far as like, if I don't hit any home runs, you know what I mean? I got a couple of singles. And if I just keep hitting singles along the way, eventually I pretty much got guaranteed home runs with my retirement plan, plans rather. And so, I just want to stress to people that are like frustrated because they can't seem to quit their job. Like, it's okay. Just stay on your path. Like, and if you never quit your job, you didn't fail. Like literally only stopping is the only way to fail, period. Everything else is just, you have to learn how to fail up, I guess. You know what I mean? You have to fail up. Like you have to just let it be part of what happens, like, because you can't stop it from happening. The only way to or not even perfect, the only way to even perform something new that you've never done before is to do it. And the only way to get better at something is to have experience being bad at it. That's just the way it is.
Well, I think a lot of times too, like our perception of failure or the cultural narrative of what failure is wrong. It's like, if you're doing something and you're working towards a goal and you're learning, valuable lessons along the way, then is that technically a failure? It's like, I heard a quote that said, like, it was kind of like the iceberg thing. And it said like 80% of all of your resume is failure. And that's underneath the water. You can't see the big iceberg, but you can see the tip. And so 20% of your whole resume was the success. And that's what everybody sees as the success, but they don't see the 80% of failures of the entire resume of your work, and that's where it's like, I don't view failure like, a loss. I view it as an opportunity for growth, for expansion, for reflection, for, more compounded opportunities. And that's where you were talking about, like, okay, you can hit a home run and sure, then you can quit your job. But if you hit a whole bunch of singles, it's just like when you invest in the stock market. Okay, you're putting your efforts out there, but then, it grows and then it pays dividends and you get compounded interest, because then you reinvest in the same thing that it grew, and then you get more dividends because you have a greater principal invested in that. So, compounded interest over time makes you successful. Are you familiar with Dave Ramsey at all? Have you listened to any of his stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The baby steps.
Yeah, well,
seven baby steps.
And him and his group of people, they did that study on, millionaires or whatever, and they found a commonality amongst millionaires. And what did they do? They worked their lives, they invested into their 401ks. Primarily, that was the number one wealth building tool, was they just kept investing in their 401ks. Company earned, matched, and they maxed it out. They lived beneath their means, and they didn't go out and, get a whole bunch of credit cards and consumer debt and all that kind of stuff, financing. But really what it adds up to is compounded interest through their 401k programs, over a lifetime, and they became millionaires. So that, hitting those singles over and over again, working with a guaranteed income, that's bound to make you successful over time. You don't have to hit that home run and become the top percentile, person to still get those kind of, results. You just have to have that consistent dedication over a long period of time. We all want it right now, microwave era, 30 seconds later, it's done. But that's not always how reality works either.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that, like, don't stop trying to find your microwave food. You know what I mean? Like, keep doing that. Do keep doing that. Trust me, I'm still trying to find the 30 seconds and it's done solution. And I have been for, at this point, decades. But along the way, we have in the past, really this journey that we're on started honestly in about 2013. You could say 2012 was sort of like a pre-year, but 2013 is when we sat down and said, like, all right, let's get it together. Let's just get everything together. Let's just get great. Let's get out of debt. That was the very first decision that we made, was let's get out of debt. Okay, how do people get out of debt, right? And we just started, that's where we found Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
and and all kinds of other people as well, and that information is out there. How do you get out of debt? Anybody who's anyone will tell you the very first thing is you have to face the monster, right? So what's the monster? How much money are you really spending? You have no idea how many Mountain Dews you just grabbed, or swung through and got some food, or just grabbed those Girl Scout cookies. And I'm not. Now listen, before the commenters, the Girl Scouts cookies are elite. Okay, I'm just saying as an example of something that if it's not in your budget, you should not choose to do. That's all. Right. I'm not attacking the Girl Scouts. I love the Girl Scouts. But anyways, but when you budget, and that's it. You face the monster, you get the budget, and then you can kind of go from there. But like, if anybody's watching this video and is wondering, like, okay, so what is success? What is one level of success? Okay, so our definition of success, we kind of have two things. One, and this is, to some people, it could be a mind-blowing thing, and to some people, it could seem very modest. I don't know where you fall in, but $5 million. Once we have $5 million, we have financial freedom. We are on our way, but we are not there, obviously. But at that point, we can decide exactly how many different ways we want to earn income and drop all the ones that we don't. Okay? The other definition of success is I'm basically just going to steal Richard Branson's definition of success because I think it's perfect. So I'm just going to credit him and say that being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want.
Yep.
There you go. I got a dream to be able to basically just take. I have 3 brothers. To basically just be able to take everybody on a trip to somewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Anywhere. Italy. I don't know. Grand Canyon, Hawaii. Who knows? Vancouver. Somewhere. Just I'm paying. Don't worry about it. Just get the time off of work. So that's part of my definition of success. I cannot do that, by the way, right now. Right. For the record, for my brothers, when you're watching, we're not there yet. Okay, we haven't. There is no trip planned. There won't be for a while. But no. But you know, for us, we have a well-defined. It's pretty well defined, and we keep redefining it. By the way, that's another thing is that we sit down and have a meeting. As a matter of fact, we have one Sunday. This coming Sunday, we have basically, back to basics meeting or whatever you want to call it. I can tell you right now, this is your topic because the one that coming up on Sunday is going to be focused on diet and exercise. So we're doing pretty good on other stuff. We're like really hitting on all cylinders on a lot of other areas of our life. So, that'll be the need, that we have to discuss, which is good. And again, I have to say, I'm speaking from a point of convenience where that's what I'm focused on rather than just paying my rent and feeding my face, because there have been times when that's what I was focused on,
Yeah.
So whatever station you're at in life, like you got to make a budget. Doesn't matter. When I made a budget, we were collectively making something like $1,800 a month, like together. There was a slap in the face. It was like, oh yeah, this is why it takes every penny to live, because we don't make enough money. And there started the journey of I wouldn't say I was ever mad at the world for not making money, but I was just kind of frustrated at my situation, and I would be, I guess it's a time when I changed kind of before that. I had to switch my mind from, so just real quick, through time, there have been times where I worked completely for myself, just so you know, and didn't have an employer. But for over 20 years, I've had an employer. Okay, I've had a boss. So in those times, you work for different people and you kind of have different reactions. And a lot of it depends on the situation you're in. And it also depends on your maturity at that point in your life. And I was a person who was frustrated with my boss or whatever for me giving all this extra effort and them not compensating me for it, as opposed to realizing not being frustrated, but realizing that it's not up to them for me to make more money. My problem is I need more money, so I need to go solve that problem. And it didn't mean that I needed to leave in most cases. It usually meant that I needed to find another way to make money, like a second way and a third way and a fourth way. And now we're up to a fifth way. And on our way to a sixth way, because and I will talk about the next thing that I'm going to do, but I'm going to keep 7 and 8 very vague because I don't like to talk too much about things that aren't, at least like paperwork isn't started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to. So it's not really too unique of an idea, to be honest with you, and not to hype it up, but I want to do a YouTube channel that is an idea here is, so the challenge with YouTube, in my opinion, and I do, CrackAMike Parodies already does have a YouTube channel. We have exactly one video on it. It's a parody of Old Town Road. I'm going to suggest everybody go to it. I'll send you the link so you can put that in the description. But I don't really have a YouTube channel. I just have that one channel I put that one parody video on. But I want to start so the challenge with YouTube is for the algorithm, right? To get views. So the thing is that with YouTube, you get so many single views, like your videos. And this is no offense to you on a personal level or anyone for that matter. I'm going to watch them one time. And that's how many times I'm going to watch them. That's it. It's just the way it is. Once I watch your video once, now I'm going to watch your next video, then I'm going to watch your next video, and so on and so forth. But I'm only going to watch each video one time. So I was thinking to myself, how could you do that? And then I really just kind of like started using a channel, and it dawned on me that this is exactly how people do it. So I like to listen to the sound of rain when I sleep. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sleep videos, but I'm going to make them specific to increments of time. Like say you got a 45-minute nap, I'm going to make like a 48-minute video. You know what I mean? So it kind of like goes right along with your sleep, maybe a couple minutes extra so you can snooze one time or whatever on your phone. And it'll be a themed, it could be black screen, we'll save the ideas for when the videos actually come out. But yeah. But that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that I wanted to make sleep videos because I think that if you're anything like me, you might go to that video more than 2 or 3 times a week, because that's kind of where I'm at. I usually about 2 to 4 times a week I will. And it's usually when I really need to fall asleep fast, because with the schedule I keep, I have to be at work at 7. And in order to do that and have the morning routine that I have to wake up at 5.
Yeah.
So in order to be up at 5, you got to be done working by 9. That's just the latest, right? So I get home from my day job about a little after 4. Typically, you know, then my wife leaves for work to go to her night job a little bit after that. And then from 5 to 9, with the exception of a dinner break, I work. I do take a break too. Now we're meal preppers. We're kind of old school like that. We're still doing that because it works for us. So when I say I take a dinner break, I mean I literally take the 3 or 4 minutes it takes to heat it up and the 15 minutes it takes to eat, and that's it. And I'm right back to work. It's not like a full-on break. Typically, I find that it's exactly enough time to watch 1 episode of Schitt's Creek. So that's my perfect dinner break, actually. But and then I'm right back to work, and I stay dedicated, and I work till 9, and I don't cut out early. I don't leave at 8:55. I work until 9 o'clock, you know, if I can. But then I got to cut out. So then I need to really fall asleep fast, all right, because the clock is ticking. Because after that, I'm taking a shower, and I'm going to bed. And so what helps me fall asleep fast, finally, we're getting to the point, is one of these videos. For me, it's rain. But some people have told me the sound of the beach. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Every time I go to the beach, I have to really make sure I have sunscreen on just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case I doze off for 15 or 20 minutes. I really need to make sure I've got sunscreen on. So I was like, yeah, that's a good one too. So and obviously that's, you know, 2 of many, many, many ideas. You know, well, maybe you don't know how I am, but getting to know how I am, I have an entire list of a bunch of stuff that will accompany, you know, starting this YouTube channel. I'm sure, like you did when you started your channel, you probably had an outline.
Well, I'm kind of the same type of person. My mind constantly runs 100 miles an hour. I've got ideas upon ideas upon ideas. And no matter where I'm at, I can't shut that off. No matter what I'm doing, I'm always looking at, you know, process, evolution, effectiveness, efficiency, you know, optimization, you know. So like they love me at work because I'm an outside the box thinker. I've been called the idea person. I've worked directly with our engineering department, quality improvement, as far as, you know, improving floor designs and mechanics within our factory. I'm actually applying for a position right now within our factory within continual improvement. And I'm also,
sounds like, is that like a quality control?
Yep, quality control / continual improvement engineer. And then I'm also applying at the same time for a supervisor position, because right now I'm a assistant supervisor. So I'm always looking at ideas, solutions, you know, multiple scenarios at the same time. So I totally vibe with what you're saying, you know, with that. And I love YouTube. I love the internet, because it's like, you know, in the past, when you wanted to sell products or whatever, you were confined to your local geography and, you know, how many people were in your vicinity. You know, it's like, okay, say, you know, I live in this small little town and Walmart is within this town. And, you know, if you look at the demographics, like they might get 4,000 or 5,000 people a day, you know, walking in and out of that door. And I've asked people before, I'm like, what do you think makes Walmart so profitable? And, you know, everybody's got their ideas and everything. And it's like, the reason why Walmart is so profitable is because of the potential of sales, because of the high volume of people walking in and out of the door. You know, I grew up in a small community, and when they got a Walmart, people would literally go to Walmart to socialize. Like, what are you doing after school? You know, when I was younger, they'd be like, oh, I'm going to go walk around Walmart. You know, and it's so like, even if you're going there for something that's not consumer based, well, now you're there, you're gonna, oh, they put Subways and stuff in Walmarts, and they put stuff to eat, and, you know, you're gonna eat stuff. You know, the potential for profit is high because of the volume. Well, the internet is mainly consumer based, and even, you know, on YouTube and social media, there's time and attention that is being, you know, displaced. Somebody is giving up that time, and somebody is receiving that time and attention. So it's all consumer based, and it runs, this mechanics of the internet runs 24 hours out of the day, 365 days a year. If you can figure out a way to entice people to where they want to give you their time and attention, platforms like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all that, they will pay you phenomenal phenomenal amounts of money because of the people that you are attracting, that it's like the Kardashians and all these celebrities. People watch them and people like, I don't understand. Why do you watch them? But even the people that are bashing them and stuff, they still end up watching them and stuff because the culture wants it so bad. It's like that, oh gosh, that Tiger King guy.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
was.
I will admit though, that was fun to watch. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved
well,
it.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Why did he become so successful? Is because people couldn't get enough of it. There was a character, there was a persona that was, projected to the world that was so enticing that people were like, I gotta see what's gonna happen. Oh my God. Like, did you see what's gonna happen last? Oh dude, I gotta watch. And that's where
we ate that thing up so fast. We watched that thing in like days. We watched it in like days.
Exactly. And what made him so successful, even though it was like, he was already in jail and everything, but he made content like crazy, and so like, if we can make content and make it in a genuine, authentic light of our individual selves, bringing in elements of controversy, elements of comedy, and maybe entertainment or value, because value is perceived in lots of ways. If you made me laugh and you made me forget about the dramas of the day for 10 minutes, that is valuable. Yeah. So that's where I love it, where you can monetize that video and it can be making money while you sleep because you put in that time and effort.
You could be making money while you sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of sleep videos.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. Making money while you sleep. I mean, that is, that's what we're all trying to do. Everybody's trying to do that. I can only make, we at my job, we work 7 to 3:30. Mm-hmm. That's all the time I can make money there. Yep. That's it. And I'm at the mercy of very few things that I can control. Let's just put it that way. It's not like you're completely out of control because, you could choose to be a bad employee and, you have control over how much effort you put in. But other than that, even if you put all the extra effort in, you still don't have control over whether it's in the budget for them to give you more money. Like that's all there is to that, or for you to get bonuses. Or in your case, you're lucky because there's another higher position you can apply for. You may be topped out at your job or whatever it is, but like if you just go, okay, this right here is working. Now I need to add something else.
Yep.
That is the pivot that I had to make.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't, because like I cooked for a living. I was in a restaurant business forever. I worked so hard when I cooked and managed. It was so much work, man. And it's not just the hours. The hours are absolutely intense when you're a restaurant manager. Like it's crazy. 60 hours is a short week, and I'm not exaggerating. Yeah. Especially like in my case, I opened a couple of new restaurants, so that's just like you don't do anything but working.
Yeah.
For 2-3 straight months. But for me, it was just like, all right, so this is good. Once I got to the point where I was happy with my employment, and that's important. You have to be happy with your employment, but not because they're paying you a bunch of money. Like you have to actually just be happy with your employment, right? And just make sure that the money is okay. It's good enough, if you like what you're doing and the wage is decent enough to where it can allow you, let your EI turn into PI, you know what I mean? Your earned income turn into passive income, then you're good. That's what you got to do. It's the 80-20 rule. You take that 80%, you live on it, and the other 20%, you
invest.
But you buy assets with it is what you do.
Yeah.
You buy assets with it. And make no mistake about it, a car is not an asset.
No, unless it's an Uber and you don't use it personally.
Well, you can turn it into a net zero, right? Like you can turn a home into a net zero. Yeah. But quite frankly, right now, my mortgage costs me money and it doesn't make me money. So I don't look at my house as an investment. And no offense to the house as an investment people out there, or maybe a little offense. Yeah, actually, a little offense because you guys are just wrong. Like it's not an investment until it's paid off. And then you sell it. Then it became an investment after a million years. So, like we bought a house, we got a great deal on it, but hey, it needs a new roof. And let me tell you, that's you're getting up there as far as costs are concerned.
Oh yeah.
For a roof, like that's so that's like I said, we got a good deal, but that's part of the bullet that you have to bite when they're when you buy a home. If you don't buy a brand new construction home, you get one that you can feasibly afford, and still have money in the bank. And that's when you get to make those decisions. But wherever you're at, wherever your station is in life, for me, it's really been really important every time that I was somewhere to not look more than 2 levels up. If I start looking to that 3rd level, it's almost like it's too much of a comparison and I'm failing. I feel like a failure.
Yeah.
But like, I want to look 1 level up always. Okay. Because you have to have drive. For me, still, like I said, I had 2 great dads. They were both coaches, and I kind of have their voices in my head all the time, with their sayings and efforts between you and the man in the mirror and things like that, and I kind of harken back to that and go, yeah, you're right. Man in the mirror is, and this may sound strange, but I intentionally force myself to watch. This is going to be really weird, but I'm gonna let y'all know right now. I force myself to watch myself brush my teeth in the mirror because I have like this 2-minute electric toothbrush, and I basically stare myself in the eyes and make sure that I'm okay with what I see every day. Twice a day. Yeah, twice a day. Right. No, I'm dead serious because I get it's really what it is it's 2 minutes of intense self-reflection is what it is. And it makes me say, what are we doing today? Because I brush my teeth early in the morning and then late at night, and I'm sorry, sorry for dentists out there. That's what you're getting out of me.
That's what I do too.
I do it twice. I floss both, or at least once of those 2 times. I try to floss both times. But anyways, so that's what I do when I'm brushing my teeth. I force myself to give myself those 2 minutes of self-reflection, and it's like little stupid habits like that. I'm not telling anybody to do that, but what I'm saying is, get the result that I'm getting from it. Like, don't worry about the action. Some stupid idiot, once, looks at himself in the mirror and watches himself brush his teeth for 4 minutes a day. Great, good for him. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but you've got to find the results that I'm finding, which is like I focus hardcore, intensely at the beginning of the day, what I'm going to do, and at the end of the day, what I did yesterday or earlier rather in the day, and what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like, it gives me time to kind of like, and I don't think about my day or anything. I think about my character. I look at myself and I say, what do we do today? Okay, for example, on Mondays and Thursdays, my wife and I fast. We do a 24-hour fast, okay? That I'm at the end of, by the way, right now. And, every single time, it's not easy to go the whole 20. You're going to get to that 23rd hour and you're like, it's only 1 hour, but it's a promise I'm breaking to myself. And I know that after I eat, I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to brush my teeth, and I'm going to look at myself for 2 minutes, and I'm going to know if I went all 24 hours. You know what I mean? And that's when I have to kind of answer to that guy. And it's a way that I hold myself accountable, because what it comes down to is, when it comes to diet, I got to outsmart the fat kid in me. When it comes to work, and here it goes, I'm gonna throw some foul language out there, but like, I'm quoting Joe Rogan. This is a quote. YouTube is a quote. I have to fight my inner bitch, right? Yeah. So and that's all there is to it. You just got to do that. Like that inner, like, I don't feel like doing it. That I actually have a bit about this. It's it's that kid. Guy right there, or that girl right there. For the ladies watching, that is the worst part of me. I can't speak for anybody else, actually, but that's the worst part of me. That is the part of me that I wish would just go away forever. But it's there, and I have to outsmart it all the time. That's why we meal prep. That's why we have a whole menu written in our fridge, and then we do the grocery shopping when we grocery shop. That's why we work on a schedule, because that schedule keeps those, people would say those moments of weakness, but I like to personify things. That's actually how I write jokes. I personify problems, and then I kind of write about them, and I like to personify the inner bitch or the inner fat kid. Those are kind of the two that I have, right? But just overall, it's like just an inner laziness is what it is. It's like a tendency to just want to be lazy. And I'm an extrovert, and I'm not a lazy person, but I can be introverted and get lazy real quick. It just can happen. I can't remember, somebody had like reposted something that was like, the only thing better than making plans is canceling plans. Which is ironic that I bring that up since this is actually our third attempt
Right.
at making this video.
Well, I canceled one.
You did. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And then I experienced some tragedy. I don't want to talk about it or harp on it, but just, somebody passed in my family. And so, that kind of happened, and I was dealing with that for the reschedule. So, but now here we are, third time's a charm.
Yep.
Is happening, for better or worse.
Right.
Whether you post this or not, you might just be like, well, that was an hour and a half of my life.
Oh no, this is great. Now, so like I had wrote some stuff as far as like kind of bullet points or whatever, what we were talking about and everything. And what we were talking about, is, we're individuals coming together, talking about what it takes to become successful, the steps we take, the experiences we've had. And both of us can agree, we're not successful in our own mind, where we are projecting our future self to be. We're not there. We're not successful. But to a lot of people looking at us from the outside, they're like, man, I want what they have. And regardless of how we may view it or whatever, there's a process in which we've taken. And it all started with that look in the mirror, that who's that man in the mirror looking back at me, that self-reflection and taking that personal initiative, because what we were talking earlier, and you're saying, you gave up that, you had that frustration inside. And I think a lot of us have that within our culture because we live in such a blessed culture to where we can, opportunities are at our fingertips. The world is at our fingertips. Growing up, they said, whatever you want to be, you can be. Now, regardless of the truths or the fallacies within that statement, we have a perception within our growing up to where it's like, I want the best of the best. I want to become successful. All of us, I think, want to become successful. But the reality is the majority of people will not, because they won't take the time to do what's hard. They won't put in the work. What do successful people do? They work really hard. And regardless of how long, whatever, successful people work hard. So when you take that look in the mirror and you say, well, who's looking back at me? And, let's hold myself accountable. Then you start to say, well, what can I focus on? And what can I control and what can I not control? Like you were talking, right there. Yeah.
Like right there. You just nailed it. You could have not, this video could have been 10 seconds long. Right. What can I control and what can I not control? Hey guys, I'm Mike. That's Steven. Good video.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Good luck.
What can you get? Good luck. Can you control it? Then move on. Another way of putting that is, and I had I've been fortunate to work with some pretty good people throughout my career. I had somebody say to me straight up, like, yo, man, is this going to matter in 5 years?
Right.
I was like, oh, wow. No, not at all. And he was like, the wife doesn't matter in 5 seconds. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, man, it's so easy to, I take that kind of thinking for granted, though, honestly, Steve. I do, because it just feels like so long ago, that I was kind of going through that, and it's kind of nice to be reminded that, like, oh yeah, you didn't even know that. You didn't even know to you could not worry about the stuff that you can't control. You didn't even know that. You'd heard it, but you didn't really know it, And but yeah, that's it. And that is from or not. It's not from, but that's an idea that's discussed in. I'm going to be honest with you. I've read a good bit of inspirational books, I guess you'd say. Not inspirational. That's like religious. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Self-improvement books. Yeah. I think that one's from the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, where it's the circle of concern and anyway, basically it's.
I have the book right there. I'll check it out as soon as we're done, because it rings a bell. I think it is.
It's like I think it's one of the habits. I feel like it's one of the habits. It's like basically just worry about what you can control and don't worry about what you can't control. Anyway, that's what it says. You don't have to look it up. That's what it says. I just can't remember exactly what.
And when we were talking about successful people, what is the universal thing that we see successful people do and they can control their time more freely than we can?
Well,
And
and also I'll say, can I throw in I'm gonna say we, because we have achieved some little
oh
bit of
yeah,
success. Not like we're
yeah,
totally unsuccessful guys, but so we even modestly successful people. Also, and I'll speak for myself personally, and I'm just gonna assume this about you because it seems like it's true. Network. My
oh yeah,
network is everything. I would tell you right now, I would have 0 songs recorded if I couldn't depend on my network. Like,
yeah,
I had to get people to come in and sing on my tracks. I had to get, like, there was like so much involved in all this, with the music parodies. For anybody who's just tuning in, that's something I do on the side as a hobby. But yeah, the network, to shoot the video, I had to depend on people showing up, and then of course about only half of them did, which is fine because that wound up being enough. But and like I talked about earlier, not to beat a dead horse, but my wife being such a strong, huge part of my network, almost like a bridge, like hell, sometimes I feel like I'm her 1B to, her being 1A. You know what I mean? Like, you might be interviewing the wrong person, but but no, and the network too, like being able to depend on people. Like I said, I slept on a couch for 6 weeks. That happened in my life. For a guy that I can't even get in touch with him now. This is in the 90s. In the 90s, guys, before Facebook, even MySpace. But yeah, it was a long time ago. And, if you didn't keep each other's phone numbers, that was that. You got lost. But a guy that reached his hand out and is forever a part of my network, regardless whether he realizes it or not, and in my current network. And the other thing is that, like, so I think that I've seen your videos and heard you talk about the law of attraction before.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I think that it's really important that you understand that, like, we all do this, okay? We all do this, and we all have this done to us, okay? Whatever energy you project is what people actually give back to you.
mm-hmm.
Like, you can know a person that's normally really happy, but you walk into the room and you see that they're really sad, which has kind of recently happened with me. Like I said, I had somebody in my family pass away recently, and people did, like, feel that vibe, like, immediately. They're like, "Whoa, what's up, Mike? Everything okay?" And they were empathetic immediately because they sensed, they were like, "Man, you're not," because I'm usually like I am now, pretty positive, upbeat guy, um, with good positive energy, with, like, because I usually have a plan for my day, and I feel good about executing it, and so with that sort of thing, like, you understand, like, once you fully understand and embrace that, then you understand that, like, when people are kind of mad around you, you're probably an angry person.
Right.
If people are mad around you a lot, if you find yourself in, and I don't necessarily mean physical, but fights, like arguments, you're probably argumentative.
Yeah.
You're probably projecting an argumentative personality. I'm not saying it's 100% happen, but just think about that. Like, that energy comes back to you. Like, okay, you want to run an experiment? Watch this. The very next person that you see, smile at them and see if they don't smile back at you. They will.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, like, what you put out there, not to get too far into The Secret and all that stuff, into law of attraction, but what you put out there really is what you get back. And it's not a magical thing. It's because that's how we all are. We do it to each other and we get it from each other. It just is what it is. You can't stop it from happening. You're not like a bad person because you smile back at people that smile at you. And please don't be too cool to smile back.
Right.
I definitely promote smiling all the time. Actually, I'm the guy that's smiling at his driver's license picture. So I'm definitely
right.
Keep it positive, keep it happy.
I'm talking with my oldest son about that right now because, he's going through a lot of stuff and he's lashing out, emotionally, or he's developing patterns that aren't necessarily going to benefit him in the long run with his peer groups and stuff. And he's using comedy in a sense, but he's doing it in a manner where he's the only one laughing. And it's like, okay, if you're laughing at other people, they're not laughing with you, then you're not being a good person, that you got to think about that. But, and I lost my thought about that too. Oh, what you put out, you get it. I don't remember.
Right. No, yeah, no. Law of attraction. You say go with that with your son. That if you, I think where you were going, I think, or at least where I think you were going, is look, if you're gonna hang with the wrong crowd, you're
Oh,
gonna want to be in the wrong crowd.
well, then
I think that's where you're going.
if you have the same result, like, okay, say you go to school and you're like, man, the teachers were mean to me, my friends were mean to me, then you come home and then you're like, man, this kid outside in our neighborhood was mean to me, and then you come inside and you're like, man, my dad's being mean to me. It's like, okay, the world is all responding to the energy that you're putting out, because what's the thing that you can control? You can't control how your dad treats you, you can't control how the teacher treats you, but you can control your response to the situations around you. And if you're responding to the stresses of life or whatever in a negative way, like confrontational or argumentative, then you're going to get out what you put in. And you sometimes we have to take that look in the mirror and say, how can I hold myself accountable? What am I doing that I can change? And there, it's like, I'm not saying the world's mean or unfair, but maybe I can say, okay, maybe I'm being unrealistic with my expectations with the world, and I need to just, take it with a grain of salt, have some more, patience and stuff like that.
Well, I think the way you're trying to tell your son is to be a proactive person and not a reactive person.
Exactly.
When you 100%. Look inward and you say, this is my fault, no matter what, whether I'm successful, if I'm successful, that's my fault. Look at all the work I put in. That's my fault. I wouldn't use the word fault, but you know what I mean? For lack of a better term, since that is our cliche. And when you fail, that's your fault. And I think that's what you're trying to tell your son is like, proactive people blame the teacher for grading too hard, or I'm sorry, reactive people blame the teacher for grading too hard. Proactive people say I should have studied harder.
Right.
And the only person who's going to get a different result is a proactive person, because the teacher is not going to change the way that they grade because one student, one time in one of their classes in one of their years of their whole entire life had a problem with the way that they graded. That's just not going to be the way it is, So I think that's what you're trying to tell your son. But let me speak on actually using comedy, something I know a little bit about, as a guy who tells jokes on stage in front of other people, to levels of success, low levels sometimes. But so just so you know, just for your information, I guess anybody watching, that's kind of the first time that I used comedy like real super successfully that I remember was I had moved in with my mom. I come from a divorced home and I moved in with my mom, and I was a new kid in the neighborhood, and it was, I think, third grade if I'm not mistaken. And I didn't have any friends. I just didn't know anybody. I didn't have any enemies or anything like that. But there was this group of fifth or sixth graders or whatever. They were older. They were like so much bigger than all of us that would pick on little kids. It's got a little bit of a rough neighborhood down in South Florida. I'm not going to say, I had to fend for my life or anything, but it was a little bit of a rough neighborhood. And we had some bullies. And they can remain nameless, even though I'm sure what are the odds of them seeing this video. But I just remember the one like leader with a blonde mullet, by the way. This is like 1980. This is like 1989. So, but the leader kid or whatever, he pulled up on his bike and went to, rough us up or whatever. And, I had kind of come up with this idea because I was a new kid. I was like, hey, we should all hang out together and get to know each other. And then that way, if they show up, because I saw them all picking on all of us individually, And I got lucky though, because they only got to me a couple times before I was like, I got to figure out something here. So I made my nerd gang, if you will. And, really like the smaller kids in the neighborhood. We were really a nerd gang. We were just younger. We were younger than them. We had no clue, but anyway, so we got together. We kind of became friends and everything. And there was 4 or 5 of us. And actually, I remember there was 5 of us. And I remember that the leader kid, we'll call him Tommy. Tommy and his 2 friends pulled up on their bikes, and they were actually trying to steal my friend's bike, like straight up just take it from him. Like, think about being a 9-10-year-old kid, how traumatizing that is. Like, that's like, dude, it's like somebody taking your car right now or truck or whatever you do.
It's your life.
Right? It's literally the same thing when you're 9 years old. You know what I mean? Because that is your mode of transportation. And if you grew up with the financial situation I did, you were not getting another bike. Like, that wasn't happening. You get $5 a week for allowance, save enough allowance, you get a bike, kid. So I remember that. And as a defense mechanism, I started making fun of him. and I made fun of and even though I didn't have Nikes on myself, okay, at all, I made fun of the fact that he had some, what I called Bobo shoes on, right? I was like, look at you and your Bobos. And then I just ripped him apart, man. Like I roasted him, okay? And I told like 2 or 3 jokes. I don't remember everything I said, but I remember the shoes was the big thing. And then I had this stupid catchphrase that I just said, and I don't know why. But it was like, you know how people are like, burn, right?
Yeah.
Well, I like busted on him. All my friends did the oh thing. It was going great. All right. It was like right out of a Stand By Me movie or something, some 80s film. But and I was like, now don't you feel crunchy? And which is the worst thing ever. I hope that somebody actually roasts me for saying don't you feel crunchy, like makes a shirt and puts it on Reddit and like destroys me over that, because that's terrible and I should live the rest of my life in shame of that. But anyway, it started off innocently enough as like a defense mechanism, but I started to realize that I had a skill for it, to the point where like I could hurt feelings. And so then it turned into that. So this story actually has a very dark ending. This is the ending. It turned into, actually, I kind of turned into the bully, sort of, briefly, not physically, but I would roast guy. Like my friends would be like, roast him or whatever, and I would just do it. You know, and it was like, it kind of became a thing that I had to rein in. I had to make a mature decision, and even as a kid, and say, all right, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to keep doing this. And actually, so what happened was I went on to middle school later on, a couple of years later, after kind of being that guy, and got a chance to change my identity. Because when you go to a new school, you get a chance to do that, So, and I kind of decided, all right, it's middle school. I'm not going to make people feel crunchy anymore. And then, of course, then I myself grew a mullet and then had giant glasses the size of my face. So if you look at the pictures, you would not think that I was the one making people feel crunchy. You would think that I was the one that did feel crunchy indeed.
Right. Well, that's a good story. And I think, as far as, the character that you have today and the character that you've had in the past or whatever, you take the time to self-reflect. And, we all, growing up as kids, like you said, insecurities, traumas, life events, and, individually we can all have talents. Like I was always a physically fit kid. I did martial arts and everything, and I could have used that for the darker side, as far as development. I could have used it against people and everything. And same thing with your jokes. And regardless that you went through that moment, you had a time to reflect, because in your own naivete or whatever, you didn't know any better, but it was a defense mechanism and it saved you from trauma. And then it probably, you roast somebody and everybody's talking about it. It kind of makes that person think again, like, well, I don't want to try to mess with Mike, because then I'm going to get humiliated. So it was effective in that time frame of your development. So we all have.
And I really do appreciate you letting me off the hook, but just for full transparency, I knew exactly what I was doing.
Oh yeah.
I knew I was a bad guy, and I was just going with it. And I mean, like, I did know what I was doing. I did really. And at first, it was like to defend my friends. Like it really was. Like I kept the bike from getting stolen.
But then you're like, ooh.
But I was like, oh man, making other people hurt makes me feel good.
Yes. I like this.
So that became my coping mechanism, I guess, for being bullied. But no, but I did have to, grow up a little bit. And so here's the thing. So let's move into adulthood. Okay, so that was like when I was a kid, and people can write that off. People will write that off. People watching this, good God, if you'd stayed this long,
Oh yeah, kudos to you.
I love you and your children and your people and everything about you. But where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So moving into adulthood. So I don't remember who said it, but somebody way smarter than me was like, in order to make progress, you have to like recognize who you want to be, recognize who you are, go and then like forgive yourself for being that person so you can move forward. Like you got to forgive yourself for being who you were. And be like, yeah, man, that was me. Like, in order to be young and dumb, you got to be dumb, right? Yeah. So, and by the way, as soon as you're not young, whatever that is in your head, whatever that definition is in your head. To me, it's 30, but that's because I'm old. But to me, it was when I really realized, like, oh wow, the world really expects a lot from me now. Like,
right.
It's like, I'm 30. This is it. It's real. It's as real as it gets. I don't get any more excuses. I got no more get out of jail free cards. Actually, it's a bit I used to do on stage. I used to say, like, when you need to stop doing things that could send you to jail is when you're the oldest person that you could call.
Right.
Right? Like, other than your parents, if you're the oldest person you can call, like, if everybody that you're calling is younger than you, they're all ashamed of you. They're all looking at you like,
look at this dude.
What is this 36-year-old man doing in jail for weed? Dude, are you still driving around with weed? Just smoke at home. When people younger than you are lecturing you over, your one phone call that you get, you need to stop doing stuff like that. But and by the way, again, I took like 8 cuss words out of that joke just now, just so you know.
Totally off subject. That reminds me of somebody was talking, and it was probably a comedian. He was talking about, he's like, man, he's like, when I get old, he's like, I'm gonna do like acid and stuff and like drive, crazy, because he's like, if you're like 85 and you went out on an acid trip on a freaking paraglider, people would be like, damn, dude, he went, that was awesome. Yeah. But if you go out when you're 25 doing acid, but man, he had his whole life ahead of him.
Oh, what a tragedy! He had his whole life ahead of him. What a shame.
Yeah,
and it's accurate too, but that's accurate. That's the best thing about that. Those are my favorite jokes. Are the ones that are like, yeah, I can't even argue that. It's 100%. Yeah,
that's totally logical. Yeah. Right. I got a running joke with some of my friends at work, because I'm a buff guy and everything, and people are like, oh, you ever taken steroids? I'm like, no, bro. I'm waiting till I'm like 65, 70, and my body don't even produce testosterone. I'm gonna get the best steroids from Russia. I'm gonna be all crazy.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, nobody would know at that point.
Right. Right. Yeah.
They're like, what? Unless you're Barry Bonds, then sorry, no blow Barry Bonds.
But anyways, we can wrap this up. I don't want to take up too much of your time. This has been a great introduction, great conversation. I would like you to tell everybody kind of like who you are and where they can find your material and what you provide for people, because I do like what you do, and you're a content developer yourself within comedy, so let people know where to find you and stuff.
Well, as far as social media, I'm not the best at social media. As you know, I'm kind of intermittent. But as far as our business is concerned, we're resellers on all the platforms. We do have a store, an eBay store. You can search hashtag bought and sold on Mercari to see a giant portion of our inventory, especially all of our video games are there. It's bought and sold, BOTNSOULED. Like, we're putting the soul back in these robots. That's kind of like how, because I take old machines and fix them. Well, some of them I do. But we're on every platform you can sell on pretty much. So, that's that. As far as comedy is concerned, it's SoundCloud is my main platform. Primarily because it costs me money to do the parodies, and it's free to post on there. So it's all one word, CrackAMike, like it's 3 words put together, CrackAMike parodies. So CrackAMike parodies, and of course I'll send you the link so you can just put all those, all that information wherever you put it. Awesome. And whatever you're about to say right after we hang up, when for your outro, but but yeah, and then of course. CrackAMike Parodies also does have currently 1 video on YouTube. And I'll tell you what, if anybody's in the Atlanta area, I have a ton of music, 23 songs, I think, already recorded and mastered. And I've got a bunch of stuff already written. And if you are into adding somebody who's driven into your network and you want to jump into my network, I can always use a videographer, an editor, anybody who's going to be in Atlanta watching this. Just so you know, I believe in asking for free help because I believe in giving free help. So, or I guess it's not really free. It's more like tit for tat, Yeah. But yeah, no. So if anybody's out there, I have no problem paying the guys that I've paid to make my videos in the future as I can afford to. But hey, if you got to get something off the ground, then there's material out there you can check out. So that's me, CrackAMike Parodies. Long-winded, rambles a lot. But the good news is that you can see how long the songs are before you start. So you can decide how long, you get to see how long I'm going to ramble on for that song.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me tonight. I hope we can do this again. This was awesome.
Yeah, we can do this again. As a matter of fact, I'll DM you again, and then we can set something up for sure.
Sounds
As a matter of
great.
fact, I'm not, I'm a straight shooter. Whether I don't know how much because you and I have Angelo in common as a friend.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've talked to him about me or whatever, but not only do I want to come back onto the channel, but I'm going to, as long as I'm invited, and I wouldn't mind making it somewhat of a regular thing, because once I put something in my schedule, then it starts to become something that you know how it is. You put it in your schedule, you do it. Put it in your schedule, you do it.
Yeah. Well, I think just like with a lot of things, it's like the more time and energy you put into something, the more fruitful it becomes, the better of a yield you get from the product, because you're putting in that energy. So if we did this on a regular, I think definitely, we're just going to compound interest, we're going to get more out of it.
Well, hopefully you get a lot of views on it. And if you get a lot of views and you're like, okay, people like what Mike has to say, let's bring him back on, then hopefully that's part of what drives it. So everybody remember to like, subscribe, and share, and ring that bell for notifications. I don't even have a YouTube channel, but we all know that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Look, if you don't know the drill by now, these people get paid from you promoting them. That's how it works. Like when you go to a restaurant, you think the waiter needs a raise, it's you. You're the raise. Tip him or her more. That's how he or she gets the raise, okay? YouTube, share the video. And by the way, I want to say this real quick before we leave. I promise this will be the last time I hijack the outro here. We are over 900, but not yet to 1,000 views on Divorce Party. That's the name of the video that we made. And it's an Old Town Road parody that I did 2 years ago when Old Town Road was relevant. But if you guys can help us get over 1,000, that's just another thing I could send up to the sky to be grateful for.
Yeah, I remember that. That was great. That was good stuff.
Did you watch it?
I did.
Oh, okay. Right on. Very nice. I'm glad you liked it. As I am with everything that I make, I thought it could have been a little bit better. But that's okay. Everything's going to get better. Like the next video,
right,
ideally will be better.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, I am going to get out of here because like I said, my fast ended at 6. So I actually did 24 hours and 40 minutes today.
Go get some food. It's feeding time.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to. We got a big fat veggie plate waiting on me.
Well, you have a wonderful evening. I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. You too, man. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Bye. Hey, thanks for joining us today. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation between me and CrackAMike. Keep in mind, this will be a series, so we will have more to expand and go on for more conversation, more topic, more expansion in the future. Don't forget to find him on SoundCloud, and I'll link his parody down below so you can see the material that he's produced so far. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of the upcoming material, as well as comment down below. Let us know what you think and how you think we can grow in the future, what video content you'd like to see.